Hey guys, welcome back to Spilling the Reality on the Russell Hant Show. I'm your host Kylie, and this is my friend Lauren. Today we are going to be breaking down everything that you need to know from the veto comp. What are the plans with the veto? Who the target may be? Some possible shakeups in the House. So if you are not here for spoilers, you will need to exit the broadcast. Make sure you check us out after the episodes air. If you are following along live with us, hit us with some comments. Let us know your thoughts, what you want to see happen this week, everything Big Brother that you've got on your mind. And we are going to jump in and get started. So let's talk about the veto players being picked. So, who ends up playing in the veto comp yesterday?
So, aside from Danny, Kevin, and Tyler, you also have Day, Enzo, and Ian that get selected, and then Nicole was also the host for the veto.
We get Nicole hosting the veto, and those six playing for it. So, it's really interesting because has Tyler played in every single veto comp? Because I think he has.
I think he has. Yeah.
Yeah, he's either been HOH, now a nominee, or he has been selected every single week. No, he didn't play last week in the running one. So all except for one veto
I think that happens every season. You have someone that never gets their name drawn ever, and then you have someone that's always getting their name picked for basically every single veto competition.
Right, and so Tyler is thankful that he's up on the block to at least get the opportunity to play for the veto. Looking at those people competing like Tyler, Enzo, they both have quite a few wins, so probably leaning a little bit towards one of them winning. We speculated that it was going to be hide and go veto, but it was not. Hopefully we're still going to get to see that this season. It is my favorite. But they do some type of like stacking up things and then they have to shoot them or something. I'm not exactly sure, but that's kind of the veto comp that we're going to be seeing on Wednesday. But before the veto is played, we get a lot of talks about what different scenarios might happen depending on who wins the veto. So let's talk about this conversation between Enzo and Cody.
Yeah, so basically Enzo was like to Cody, I think we have the votes that we can keep Tyler, and Cody's, you can just tell he's very reluctant about that. Enzo, obviously, the type of player that he is, he wants to bro down, so he does not want to see Tyler go. However, on the flip side, Cody's like Tyler might have to go.
Yeah, like Tyler is definitely thinking there's a chance, or Cody is definitely thinking there's a chance that depending on how things shake out, like we might have to lose Tyler this week. But we know that they do have the triple threat with a 3 alliance. And so Enzo is like, yo, we've got to convince her. Kevin is coming after her. That's got to be her target, yo. Just all on board with making sure that Tyler stays in the house, which I'm sorry, y'all. This is crazy talk. Like, Tyler is such a good Big Brother player, physically, mentally. Like, if he is up on the block, you have got to get him out of this house.
I agree 100%. And the thing about it is with Enzo, like I said, he likes to bro down with people, but his problem is who's his number one and who is saying that Enzo is
their number one. Yeah, you can't go for Enzo. Can't go for Enzo. He doesn't have that.
So he's looking on that same track record where he's going to get close to the end and then clipped right at the last minute. It's just what I'm potentially predicting if he keeps broing down with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, he's literally setting himself up for another heartbreak a la Brigade, because he is just, right there on the outskirts. Everybody likes Enzo. I mean, he's such a likable person. But he doesn't have that super close bond with anybody. So it's going to be interesting as it gets down to it, what's going to end up happening. But Cody is really like, I think we need to be really careful with Danny. I feel like if we push too hard back against her, that's going to set her off. And so we just need to wait and see who wins veto. And he tells Enzo, like, to be honest, I think it's in your best interest to not win it, because Tyler's going to expect you to take him down. And if you win, he and you take him off, Danny's going to be super pissed. So I think it's in your best interest to not win this veto. Let Tyler win it for himself. So, Cody gives him that little bit of advice heading into the competition.
And I mean, Cody's right with that with Enzo, because say Enzo wins the veto and plays it on Tyler, Danny's going to be like, okay, I see where the real loyalty lands with Enzo. And then Enzo puts himself in a tough spot because he has to show his cards. Yeah. And then if he doesn't use the veto on Tyler, then Tyler's going to be like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, so I think Enzo's in a bad spot here if he wins the veto, so I really like Cody's advice to him here. We do also get Day and Danny talking before the veto, and Danny once again is just reassuring Da'Vonne, like, you don't have anything to worry about. I'm absolutely not going to put you up on the block.
Yeah, and I think Day actually believes Danny in that entire situation, and I think Danny, what she's saying there, she legitimately means it.
Yeah, same. I really think that Danny's being truthful here. And also, before the veto, we get lots of talks about Danny conspiring on Tyler. She has not just come outright yet and said, like, Tyler is my target. This is who I want y'all to vote out. But she's just dropping little seeds to everybody she talks to about, well, I don't like how Tyler did this. And she brings up to Nicole about how, last week Tyler was telling Day and Bay that I'm coming after them. And, then he was telling me that they were coming after me. Like, he's just really sloppy. And I don't like that. And Nicole's like, oh, yeah, just kind of agrees with her, but not necessarily completely on board with this. But Danny, every conversation she has, she kind of drops a little something in about Tyler. So I think it's pretty clear that that's who she wants gone. It's just a matter of who's going to win the veto and what's going to happen.
Well, Tyler's being super shady. You have to remember that, only because he's going back and forth. Like, he was talking to Day and Bay about everything, and then it all came out when Day went to Danny about it. And so
yeah,
she's not going to believe what Tyler's saying because he got caught.
Yeah, absolutely. And he fesses up to it. Like, yeah, this is what I was doing. So Memphis, like, a week later, y'all, decides, oh my gosh, like, what was going on with Tyler last week? I need to get to the bottom of this. Memphis, you are the only person in America that doesn't know what's going on. What are you even talking about? But no worries, guys. Memphis is on the case. So he goes to Tyler and has this conversation about, like, what were you doing last week? Were you trying to get nominated? And Tyler's like, well, yeah, I was self-sabotaging. He keeps using this term, self-sabotaging. And but my head's in the game now. Like 100%, my head's in the game. And, just really trying to convince Memphis, like, and when I was doing this, I wasn't throwing the 6 under the bus. It was just me. It was about me, and I was self-sabotaging. So Memphis finally figures it out, guys. I mean, I think he slept through most of last week.
Yeah, did he finally, like, come out from crawling under a rock? Because how do you not know what's going on if every single person in the house has some type of idea of what's happening? Where were you? What were you doing? But crazy.
I think even David knew what was going on. So, I mean, Memphis, what in the world?
If David knows before you know there's a problem.
Right. You're not that in tune with the game. So that moves us into the veto competition, and drum roll. That was a terrible drum. Your veto winner is Da'Vonne. So
thank goodness. I am so excited to see her win this veto, because then that means I am just hoping it stirs something up.
Yeah, so this is obviously Da'Vonne's third time playing Big Brother, and she has never won a competition until last night or yesterday, guys. So the feeds come back and she's super excited. It is this little bitty tiny veto. It's literally like this big, like a little bigger than a quarter. And she's like, it's so small and it's so cute, but I'm so proud of it. And so I don't know exactly why the veto was so small. We'll have to find out Wednesday. But yes, Da'Vonne, unlikely person to win it, but she does. And this is really like got people shook because they know that there's a big chance that Davon is going to use this veto. So it kind of puts the house into a tailspin. And this makes for good TV and this makes for good feed watching. So yay!
Oh yeah, the drama is going to start because everyone's wheels are spinning right now. They don't know what she's going to do with the veto. I think it's in her best interest to use it because she can get some people on her side. Take Kevin off that block day.
Yeah, so we know that Davon does not have a lot of people on her side, so I feel like this is her opportunity to make an impact on the game. She has got to use this veto.
Because the audience will all literally be sitting at home screaming at their television screen, and she goes, you know what? I decided I'm not going to use the veto. I'm just going to be there like this.
Yeah. So, lots of talks are happening after Davon wins the veto. Tyler, of course, is super worried because he's like, oh shit, like I'm going to be up on the block. And if she takes Kevin off, like there's a good chance that I might go home. And he's really starting to realize that he's kind of in hot water. And so Tyler proposes like maybe we should fake a fight between people in our alliance with me so that it throws Davon off of our trail, like she doesn't think that we're working together, and maybe it'll give her a false sense of security, and she decides to not use the veto because she'll think that y'all are all voting me out.
See, the thing is, Davon's smarter than that.
Yeah,
I don't think she'll buy that crap. So if you wanted to do that on somebody else, I think it would work, but Dave's too smart for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Davon is not going to buy that. And so they're kind of having all of these different little conversations, and the best plan that they come up with is we're going to just make Kevin and Davon feel like Kevin is safe. There is no way that we're going to vote out Kevin. But y'all, these people, they need to, after the season's over, they need to hit Davon up, let her give them some acting lessons because once again, neither one of them are buying it. And Kevin is like, these people were not this quick to lie to Janelle and Kaysar. Like, why do they think they're going to pull this over on us? Because I do not believe them. And
I'm happy they're not buying it because if they were sitting there buying everything that they're getting told, I would just, as a viewer, be like, wow, you are a terrible Big Brother player. Yeah,
so we do finally get Davon going up to Danny's HOH room, and they have a long conversation about what Davon is going to do. And, Davon is like, Danny, and she throws out the comment of, I feel like if I don't use it, everyone at home is going to be yelling at their television screen, telling me, like, you idiot. And she said, I know that y'all are in an alliance. And I feel like this is a bit of a mistake on Davon's part because she's like, I know you, Nicole, and Cody are working together, and y'all have got all of these other little attachments. And Danny's like, what? No, I'm not even that close with Cody and Nicole. And Davon's like, okay, and I mean, I know that I'm kind of a part of that with you, but I know that I'm not in that big alliance. So for me, like, this would be so stupid if I do not use this. And, Kevin is a number for me. And so Danny kind of relents a little bit and is like, well, I can understand. Like, I don't want you to not use it and look stupid. So if you want to use it, that's fine. I'm going to have to nominate somebody. And so they kind of toss around some ideas. And I think Davon, shockingly, is the one that maybe throws out Ian's name first. Like, come on, Dave, like, not Ian. You have to also see that Ian is not that close with them. And so she does throw out Ian's name, but Danny's like, no, I cannot do Ian. And kind of hints about like what has been said to them by production, and of course the feed's cut. So they don't want us to know that they've had a talk with them about their bullying of Ian. But it comes back, and we're finishing up the conversation with Danny and Davon, and they kind of talk about Enzo as a possibility. Davon does throw out Memphis's name, which Danny's like, no, Memphis isn't a threat to me, so like I don't want to waste it on Memphis. And
that is true, though. I mean, Memphis isn't a threat to her at all, so I completely understand she doesn't need to make that move. However, I wish she would, just from my standpoint.
Yeah.
I would love to see
Memphis
him go.
sucks.
But I think with Day,
Yeah, Memphis sucks.
it would have been in Day's best interest, I agree, with maybe not outing the people that Danny's close with, because then Danny's going to look and say, okay, she's on to me, and then maybe turn against Day. So I think Day should have kept those cards to herself.
Yeah,
for sure.
I definitely think that was a mistake on Davon's part, because I do feel like it's, Davon is kind of like right there with Danny. Like, I think Danny really does genuinely want to pull in Davon, and we have seen Danny turn against people before, BB13 Danny turning against the other veterans. Like, it has happened before, guys. So, like, I think that was a bit of a mistake on Davon's part. And during this conversation, Danny also mentions Christmas. Like, maybe I could do Christmas. And Davon's like, well, I got a secret to tell you. And we saw in the basement comp episode how Davon was like protecting that platform so that people couldn't put in something. Well, she said
so
that I love that strategy.
She was like, I'm just going to sit here and then hope to maybe grab it from somebody.
Right. And so Davon's like, I was there and Christmas pushed me out of the way, and then I felt the board and the piece was in. So Christmas has a power. And Danny's like, oh, okay. So that comes as a bit of news to her, because she does not know that Christmas has the third power. Obviously, Danny knows that she's got the second one. And so Davon's like, absolutely, 100%. Christmas has a power. So Danny's like, oh, well, crap. I don't want to run the risk of putting Christmas up and her using a power, not knowing what it is, which if she puts Christmas up, it's going to get used. So this kind of takes Christmas off the board for her a little bit.
Yeah, so her options are limited.
Yeah, reality, Rob says. So Danny doesn't want to put up allies or threats, so who is left? Either from Ian. Basically, if she doesn't put up somebody else from the committee, her only choices are Enzo and Ian.
Yep.
So that's it. That's all she has as a possibility. And I think she would have been totally okay with putting up Ian before the bullying got brought to their attention and how it's looking. Even though it's really, really crappy that they decided to bully Ian, in a way, it's almost in the game benefited him, because now they're afraid to go after him because of appearances. And so, I don't know what to say about that.
She might put up Enzo, but she's going to have to put someone up from the Alliance, and she knows Christmas has a potential power now. So the worst thing she could do is put up Christmas. Christmas then uses her power, and then she has to put up someone else after that.
Right.
And with her knowing that Christmas has a potential power, take Christmas off the table, because you don't want to piss her off by doing that. Because then once you put up Christmas and once you piss her off, you're done.
Right. And so, speaking of Christmas, after Davon leaves the room, Christmas comes up, and she's immediately like, well, what did she say? What is she going to do? And Danny is kind of annoyed because she wanted to take a nap, and so she is not giving any information to Christmas. And it's a really kind of one-sided conversation, and Christmas is throwing around ideas like, you got to do Ian, and Danny's just like, okay, yeah, and is not giving her much information back. So once Christmas leaves the HOH room, she's pissed at Danny. She's like, she was stonewalling me, y'all. Like, she will not tell me what they talked about, and I don't like that. We're supposed to be in an alliance, and she's harping on the committee and the Six, and how she's going to be super pissed if she turns against them. So we're really seeing the breakdown.
Well, here's the other issue too. Like, Christmas comes at people way too intense.
Yeah.
She has to tone it down a little bit. You cannot go at people like that and then just flip a switch and get all pissed off at people. You cannot do that when you're playing a social game.
Yeah, and especially with somebody like Danny that has the, the chops to make big moves and is really aware of what's happening in the Big Brother game and is a really top-notch strategic player. So I think that this is the complete wrong move on Christmas's part. And so this does kind of piss Danny off. So we get Danny talking crap to Nicole about Christmas and is saying how Christmas has to go, but don't tell anybody, Christmas has a power. And so Danny, of course, immediately spills it to Nicole. So y'all, everyone in just a couple days is going to know that Christmas has a power because Danny and Nicole cannot keep secrets. And so they talk about it and they agree that this is not the right time to put Christmas up on the block, that they're going to have to wait and go after Christmas later. So
this group of 6 is cracking like no other, and I am totally fine with it because I just hate seeing dominating alliances throughout the entire game. So
yeah,
whatever Danny does end up doing, she's gonna piss off a lot of people. I think she got a tough HOH with these powers.
Yeah, and I love it. Like, this is what we have been talking about all week. This is what we wanted with these powers, was for things to get shook up, and that is what's happening. You know, we had really, really hoped that we would get to see Christmas's power also get drug out. And y'all, I mean, I guess there's always a chance because Christmas is a little bit of an emotional player. Like, I would not completely put it past her that if she finds out that Danny's going to nominate, say, Memphis, because Christmas and Memphis are pretty close. Like, I could see Christmas being like, oh, hell no. Like, you are not going to put someone else up. We are not going to lose another person from our alliance. So we're turning on you, Danny. I'm going to save Memphis. You're going to have to put up another person and, see what happens. But surely she won't do that. But there's always a possibility.
Yeah, but Memphis and Christmas, them being tight, I also dislike that so much.
Right. I dislike Memphis. I dislike Christmas.
There's a lot of people in this house that it's hard to root. There's so many people that you can't root for. It's so difficult.
Yeah, I like this comment from some dude. Are felons even able to make it onto Big Brother? And yes, they are. Because Christmas is there. Yep. But as we've talked about, she's not a convicted felon. She pled guilty to a misdemeanor. So she was charged with a felony, though. And it is just, it's fun to contrast the differences between Big Brother and Survivor, because in Survivor, if they knew that someone had a power, they would absolutely target them. Like, we're going to make you feel unsafe so that you play it. And Christmas does have to decide to use it before the veto meeting. So if they could make Christmas feel like she's going to be the re-nominee, which obviously they don't know what the power is, so that makes it a little difficult. But, if they could make Christmas feel uneasy, then they could flush her power. So lots of fun possibilities.
Yeah, so many different scenarios. I think whatever happens, it's going to create some drama in the house, and I'm totally here for it.
Yes, absolutely. Just as long as it's interesting. We do get also Danny talking about how she doesn't trust Memphis. So, like, Danny doesn't trust Memphis. She doesn't trust Christmas. And then she has this really interesting conversation with Nicole. And, Nicole's supposed to be her girl. And, but she's got a little bit of an issue with her. And so she says, hey, Nicole, I heard from Tyler that I said something about him. And it's a really super confusing scenario of he said, she said, I said, you said. And Nicole's like, no, I didn't do that. Like, why would you accuse me of doing that? I told that to Tyler, or to Cody. And Danny's like, no, I talked to Cody about it and he had no idea what I was talking about. You definitely said this to Tyler. And Nicole's like, no, I would not betray you like that. And, Tyler's lying. This is him being messy and, just making up lies. And Danny's like, I'm going to go get Cody. And it's like, we're going to fact check this. And she walks out of the room and Nicole's like, oh, fudge. And is talking to herself and to the cameras a little bit like, oh my gosh, I have really screwed up. And she's like, Cody's going to have to take the fall on this one, and he's just going to have to realize that he's got to take this one off of me because Danny will forgive him, but she is not going to forgive me. And so Danny just walks on down the stairs and goes outside and is trying to get Cody, but Cody's talking with Kevin, so Danny decides to leave it alone and goes back up to the HOH room, and Nicole all of a sudden is like, I think we should vote out Tyler. Like, I think that's a great idea. Let's do that. Because she's, trying to get onto Danny's good side now and like, okay, if that's what you want to do, that is what I'm here for because, oh shit, I'm worried that I lied to you and, I'm going to get caught up in this. So let's get Tyler out. Nicole's like, I'm going to blame this on Tyler. We're going to throw him under the bus. And so we do get her saying that she will vote him out.
Yep, Nicole, honestly, doing some damage control, having to backtrack a little bit. But see, if I'm in Danny's situation, she comes back to the HOH room, and Nicole's like, yeah, let's do Tyler. I'm like,
Yeah, why the change of heart?
In like a span of a few minutes. So yeah. I think that's crazy. Nicole, when Danny came back, shouldn't have been so quick to flip the switch and say, oh, I'm fine with Tyler now, no worries.
Yeah, because before this, Nicole had been like, well, maybe it's not the right time to take out Tyler. Like, maybe you should put someone else up or, so that Tyler will have the votes to stay. But they're just really like, they're down to so few numbers. And with David safe, Davon safe, and Kevin possibly safe, like there's just not a lot of people for him to choose from without going after their own alliance. And so Danny is in a super tough position, which I just really love.
People are playing messy games right now. I mean, so many people are getting caught doing some stupid things at the moment.
Yeah. Ed says, I really don't like Nicole.
I don't think a lot of people like Nicole.
Same. I really don't like her. I will give Nicole a little bit of credit, and I need to say this for all of the Nicole stands out there so y'all don't come after me. Nicole plays very, she's always playing on the defensive, which gets her far in the game. She's always checking in with people. She's always making sure that she's good with them. I don't feel like she's making a lot of strategic decisions this season thus far. She's just positioned herself well within that big group. But Nicole does always try to make sure that her position in the house is good. So I'm going to give her that credit.
Yeah, she's not a bad Big Brother player. She does what she needs to do to get the placement she's gotten. But with the comment,
she's not great either.
Nicole. We don't like Nicole either, but you have to also say she actually isn't bad at the Big Brother game. She does well for herself, and she's also won. Yeah.
Whether or not you agree with it or not, you can't take it away from her. She has won Big Brother.
Correct.
So, anyways. So, one thing also that we need to hit on is it would not be a day in the Big Brother house if David was not out here making you think, what the hell? So, what does David do yesterday?
He tells everybody that he's the one that played the power. I'm just sitting there as the contestant. I almost want to say to him, well, duh, who else would have done it?
Yeah, so David goes to Kevin first and is like, hey, man, guess what? I did win the comp, and I am the one that took myself off. And Kevin is like, oh my gosh, like, that's so great for you. Congratulations. Like, does seem really genuinely happy that David finally won something. David's like, hey, do you think I should tell Davon? And Kevin's like, yep, that's a really good idea. So David goes into the storage room and finds Davon and talks with her and tells her, like, hey, I'm the one that won the comp and I took myself off. And he sounds like a little schoolboy, like just wanting some praise from his mother. And he's like, it was a comp in the dark and I got first. And Dave's like, yay, good job. Just kind of whatever, dude. Like, everybody knew that you won it because why would anybody have taken you off and not themselves? Like, nobody believes that. And, so David leaves the storage room thinking that, he's done good because, he's entrusting Davon with this information. And as soon as he leaves, Davon is like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Like, whatever. She has zero trust in David. And, it's a little disappointing because Davon does need David as a number. And so, to his face, she's like, great job. But then behind his back, she's like, you idiot. I don't care because I don't trust you. So,
well, it's stressful for someone like Day to have to work with David because he is so wishy-washy. You really don't know where his head's at because you've seen him blow up other people's games already this season. So David is someone where she knows, yes, she probably has to work with. But if I'm in her position, I'm like, I can't work with this guy because I don't know what he's going to do. You can't give him information because A, he might share it with someone, or B, he might not know what to do with it strategically.
Yeah. Yeah, so David continues to just be a little bit out of the loop. And,
I will say Memphis was an asshole when it came to David fessing up.
Yeah, you can share with everybody what Memphis says.
Just the way he handled the entire situation is unreal.
Yeah, Memphis is a super douchebag. And I really like this comment that says, from some dude, he says, Memphis really has some emotional issues he should have worked out before going back on the show. Like, I really, really agree. We saw his anger towards David when he nominated him, and we defended him a little bit. Like, they made it sound so terrible, based off of the live feeds. And then what they showed us, I was like, okay, well, I don't think it was that bad because David does have to prove himself. So I kind of defended Memphis a little bit. And then we get this stuff with Ian. And yes, Nicole and Christmas and Danny and Cody are guilty of laughing and not standing up for Ian. But Memphis is the one that says the words. And so Memphis is a super jackass. And then as people are talking about what Danny is going to do with her renomination, assuming Davon uses the veto, Memphis is like, if she puts up Enzo before Ian, like, I'm done. That's complete bullshit. She better put Ian up there. And he's got, like, some super aggressive tendencies that I do not understand. Like,
him and Christmas.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they get along so well. I don't know.
Right. And we do also get Christmas making the comment yesterday of how she wants to saw the hammock in half because she cannot handle Ian rocking on the hammock anymore. So, these are just the kind of people that they are.
Just leave him alone. It doesn't, him being on the hammock, how does that affect you in your life? It doesn't affect you at all. Leave him alone.
Right. I mean, who cares? Like, it's not something that he can control. But we're not going to go down this path again because it just makes me so angry. But, so Memphis is like, if she puts up Enzo first, and I'm like, Memphis, you're not even in an alliance with Enzo, and you're not in one with Ian, so why do you care that much that you're going to be so pissed if she puts up Enzo over Ian? And it's only because you don't like Ian because he gets on your nerves with his rocking. Let's be honest. That's why.
Yep.
So, if you want to go after him because he's a winner, that's fine. But to go after him because he's autistic is super shitty.
Yeah, I'm over talking about Memphis, to be honest. It's just, he's like not even worth anyone's time.
Yeah, he's a piece of work. So there's so many funny comments over here.
Yeah.
Memphis doesn't seem to remember that he's being watched 24/7. He's just a super big jerk.
And that's the thing. You know exactly what you're signing up for. People are going to see exactly everything you do and say. And how do you not know that you cannot act the way that he's acting or say the things that he's saying without there going to be people coming after you for it? It's crazy.
Yeah. We do also get another wall yeller yesterday, y'all. So they got the backyard taken away from them again, and they were mad. There's not any talks that I saw of what the wall yeller said, so I don't know if they heard anything. This one may not have been as effective as the others in terms of being heard, but they are mad about that. And then later in the evening, the feeds go down for like 3 or 4 hours, and of course, there's all these conspiracies floating around that they were replaying the veto comp. I was like, oh my gosh, I will die. I will die. But no, the feeds come back up. No idea why they were down. Just, another day as a live feeder being disappointed.
They like to make things unpredictable sometimes.
Yeah. So after the feeds come back up, we do get a lot of talk with what the plan should be going forward with the veto. And at this point in time, they're like, we've just got to convince Da'Vonne to not use it. That is our best plan of attack. And this is not going to work because Da'Vonne does not trust them. No matter what they say, she's not going to. I really, really would be shocked if she does not take Kevin off.
So I'm going to be so upset. I'm going to be so upset if she doesn't use it.
We've got this question here from Danny Robbins. Can Christmas use her power on Tyler? No. Christmas can only block a renomination. So if Da'Vonne uses it and pulls Kevin off, there was talk at first that Danny wanted to use Christmas as a pawn. She had talked with Christmas before the veto was even played. So Christmas, no, she won't be able to use it on Tyler. She'd only be able to stop her possibly being a renomination or, if she gets wind of somebody else in the committee, because Christmas, that's one thing you got to give her. She is committed to the committee. Thought it was veto power. Yeah, so she can only block the renomination, and she has to decide to use it before the veto ceremony. So it can't be like once she sees who it is, she can stop it. She's got to decide beforehand. So,
yep.
It'll be interesting. It will be interesting. But basically, as the night is coming to an end, we kind of get Danny and Cody talking about what Danny's going to do. And Danny, it seems like maybe she's landed on going after Ian after all and choosing Ian as that renom if Da'Vonne takes Kevin off. So Cody's like, hey, you don't need to worry about it. Like, I know what they were hinting at with production about us bullying Ian, but we didn't want Ian here anyway, so it's okay. And so when they went to bed last night, that's kind of where I feel like things had settled on, that it is not best case scenario for us as viewers, because I really wanted to see her put somebody up that would be a for sure thing about getting Tyler out. I really worry if Ian is up there that they will not vote out Tyler. What do you think? Do you think the votes are there if Ian is the replacement nominee?
I think if Ian's the replacement, I think Ian goes. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
I think there's too many people backing Tyler in that type of situation.
Yeah, I think the best case scenario for getting Tyler out is an Enzo renomination, because Enzo is the one pushing the guys alliance. Enzo is super likable. He's not as much of a threat as Tyler is, and I have a really hard time seeing them getting out Enzo over Tyler. So I think that would be.
There's too many people that like Enzo so much. Not that like people don't like Tyler, but I think Enzo has way more people backing him.
Yeah, agreed. And so I just think Tyler is by far one of the best players that are in the house. I mean, I feel like strategically you really only have about 2 or 3 people that are very good at playing the strategic game that are left in the house, and Tyler is the biggest threat. I mean, he can win the comps. He is so likable that people fall for what he says, and he's able to get people to do what he wants. Like, these people are crazy if they do not get rid of Tyler.
I agree. He's super threatening, but at the same time, That's what makes him a good player, because there's people thinking about wanting to keep him.
Okay, so we do have this comment about the whole Ian and Memphis situation, and I know this was not a gut reaction type of thing. Like, he's definitely talking crap about Ian. He does it on two separate occasions where he just talks about how it bothers him so much that Ian is rocking, like standing over you and it wasn't a thing. No, this isn't exactly right. He was definitely being malicious with it. They were all laughing. He makes a comparison of Ian being like Rain Man. Like, it's not okay, y'all. And he's a pretty crappy person. So let's see what other comments we have. People liking Enzo so much is why he has to go. Yeah, I mean, I think if you let Enzo get too far, that's definitely where you've got to be careful. But I think overall, Tyler is a much bigger threat than Enzo.
Yeah, if you're comparing the two, Tyler 100%. But yeah, I agree with Ed here. Enzo definitely needs to go at some point due to the likability factor. But if you're comparing him between him and Tyler, Tyler's more threatening.
Yeah, okay, let's see what else. Russell's in the chat, y'all. So if you got any thoughts for Russell and why he's crazy for being such a Memphis fan, right here. I love Christmas. Oh my gosh, you are crazy. Let's see. If Ian doesn't go up, I think Danny is setting herself up to be nominated within the next couple weeks. Yeah, I think that her alliance is going to be super pissed if it's not Ian. But
that's what makes her, she's in such a tough spot right now, because this is probably the worst HOH you could have won with all these powers that are in play.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a tough week to be HOH, but this is also what makes Danny an interesting Big Brother player, is because she is able to go against the grain and make decisions that she thinks is best for her game. So she's going to have to weigh that out with what people's reactions are going to be if it's not Ian as the renomination. I just want someone I like to win. It's horrible watching the same move every week. I agree. Like I've said, I don't even care anymore. I don't care who wins this season. I just want it to be interesting. And at least this week we've gotten some interesting stuff. So, what else? Sharon says, Tyler needs to be voted out. If they don't vote him out, he might win. Yeah, yep. I think absolutely you got to vote out Tyler. I don't care if he's in your alliance or not. He is too good. You got to get him out of the house.
If Tyler gets to the end somehow, no matter who he's sitting next to, I think he wins.
Yeah, agreed. So, okay, I really like this question. Thoughts on next week? Double eviction, I bet next Thursday. Not this week, but next. So we know the powers are good for 3 weeks. This one's last week's, this one's, and the next. Yep. So I do think there's a possibility we could see a double eviction, and that would give us the 4th juror out, and then the possibility of a battle back, which I think could be really fun, like super chaotic. Let's have a double eviction, and then, hey, surprise, somebody's coming back in after you've effed everything up. So I think that there's a definite possibility that we get the double in the next 2 weeks for sure. Yep. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if it's not next week, I think it would be the week after that. Definitely.
Yeah. Let me see. Russell is the survivor goat. There you go. What's wrong with that? Some dude. We are not. Okay. All right. Some dude says Russell is just trying to get laid. Guys, come on. Which we've already said, if Russell and Christmas meet and they fall in love and get married, we will stop hating on Christmas for being a felon and for being crazy, and we will accept her into the Russell Hance family. So you never know. What else? Okay, Russell, I don't think you've heard, but Memphis is racist now. You can't support him. I don't necessarily would go that far as saying that Memphis is racist, but I think we could go as far as saying that Memphis is a douchebag. Like, let's give him that title. I don't like to throw around, calling someone a racist that easily, but we can't call him a jerk because he is. So let's see what else. Uncle John says, I think Danny will get the boot during the double eviction. Yeah, I mean, I think Danny would definitely be one that would be in trouble in that scenario. What other questions and thoughts, y'all? There's a lot.
I don't see Danny winning. She doesn't have a shot. She's going to have way too many people are upset or pissed off at her. So I just don't see her getting to the end.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a big threat, and I think especially in the double evictions, they do take that swing because you don't have as much time to think about it, and for people to freak out, you just go for it. Y'all are crazy over here. Oh my gosh.
Comments, yeah.
Oh my goodness. What else? The Russell Hantz Showmance. Oh, pink hair, Aiden. That's a really good name. Russell, what do you think about that one for y'all's showmance name? The Russell Hantz Showmance. It's got a nice little ring to it. Right now, the winner so far is the Naughty List as their showmance name, so I kind of like that. Anyways, y'all got any more questions or thoughts? While y'all drop some more, let me pull up our tweet of the day. This one is actually was posted a couple days ago, but some things age really well, so I want to share this one with y'all. It is going to come from Ovi from last season, which I don't know how to say Ovi's last name, so I'm not even going to try to butcher it. So let me. Yeah, Ovi Caber, maybe. Anyways, he says, potential interesting hashtag BB22 week. So, Danny nominates Kevin and David. David uses the disruptor power. Tyler is the replacement nominee. Dave wins veto and uses it on Kevin. Christmas uses the blocker power, and Memphis ends up as the replacement nominee. Memphis goes out of the house with a 5-3 vote. David, Cody, Kevin, Ian, and Enzo. And I mean, y'all, talk about manifesting some things. I did not know that Ovi was the one we needed to be speaking to about this because, man, he hit on it. Like, so far, up to the Davon veto, he is spot on. So
I'm fine if you're spot on with this. Like, we can go on the road. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with Tyler leaving the house this week. So y'all go check that tweet out from Ovi. Drop your comments about what you think. Whitney Hemmings makes this comment. Tyler said he would quit if he goes to jury, and he does make this comment like, F that, I am not going to the jury house, so if I get voted out, I'm going home. And that
pisses me off so much because there's so many people that would have loved to have come on the season and would have loved to have played the game. And what's frustrating for me is you see so many of the house guests saying, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't like the game. Okay, well then why'd you come? There's so many other people I would have preferred to have seen on the season, and they actually would have came to play because they love Big Brother.
Right. And I mean, this is just disappointing because I feel like Tyler is a really top-notch player. And I feel like he had been, seeing him navigate out of the David situation the week before, like, Tyler is just so game smart. But then to see what he has done in the last 7 or 8 days is just mind-boggling. So really disappointed. And that's why last week we were like, please put him up, let them vote him out because Bay and Day are fighting to be there and Tyler doesn't want to be. So if that's what he wants, then evict him. And he says that he's in it this week, that he does not want to be voted out. But, I don't know how much you can believe that whenever he tried so hard last week to get himself voted out. All right, let's see. Is there anything else interesting here? Is Russell not on the show today because he's out finding immunity idols? That's funny. So we've gotten this question several times, like, who are these girls? What are they doing? And we are patrons of Russell's. We do a daily live feed show. Russell is not usually on here. He did do an episode with me earlier this week if y'all want to check that out. But Russell does his own show on eviction nights. So if y'all want to catch Russell's thoughts, he also does his player breakdowns and gives out his Russell crown. So if you want his thoughts on Big Brother, you'll need to catch his shows. But we do this daily at lunchtime to talk about the live feed specifically. So that is where Russell is, and that's who we are.
Comment. That was funny.
Yeah. So someone says, didn't Dr. Will say the same thing? Send me home, BS. Yeah, but Dr. Will said it in a way of like, I don't like any of you idiots. Vote me out of this house. But a little bit different than what Tyler was doing, because Tyler really genuinely wanted to leave. And Tyler, I think, still genuinely wants to leave.
Dr. Will was using it more so as like a
strategy. Yeah. Let me see what else. And that's why Will is slightly better than Dan, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think Dr. Will is top notch. Like, I think he's probably the best one. But Dan is a really good player too.
I'll make an argument for Dan. If Dan would have won the season 100%, and this is second season 100%, he would have been hands down the best one.
Right. I mean,
that funeral thing was
Dan's funeral is by far the best moment in Big Brother history, absolutely. But I feel like Will obviously completely dominated BB2, and then he comes back on and gets so far in the original All Stars, and that was a cast of All Stars. I feel like Will is just slightly better than Dan, but they're both really good players. So, all right. If there's no more questions, then I think that's going to sum it up for today. Thank you so much, Lauren, for joining me the last few days. Trisha will be back with me tomorrow. Once again, Lauren, where can people follow you?
They can follow me on Twitter at Lauren_Pratt6. And then my Instagram is just Pratt6.
All right, awesome. And y'all can check us out on Instagram and Twitter at reality_TRHS. That's RELITEA_TRHS. Make sure y'all give the video a thumbs up, drop us some comments, subscribe so you get notifications every time Russell goes live with anything Big Brother or Survivor related. And we will see you guys later. Bye, y'all.
Thanks, guys.